How's it going, guys? Welcome to today's video. Ty's going putting diesel in the 100. Today we are going to try clean up some of the tracks. Ty's here today because it's a Saturday, and I'm going to take the advantage of the two of us being here to clean up some of the verges on the tracks. On our tracks there is a bit of a camber so that water can flow off it. At least in most places there's a camber, some places it's a bit flat. And the camber, or the slope, lets water and dirt run off the track and onto the field and lets it soak away. But what happens over time, the dirt, as it gets to the field off the track, it ends up piling up, and then it ends up creating a verge which holds water on the track and muck on the track. The track gets dirty. If the track gets dirty and holds water, it can loosen stones and the track wears down then with machinery and cows walking on it. So today we are going to go out with the JCB traction trailer and start clearing away some of that verge that's built up in places on the track to make sure that they can keep getting the water off. Right, so 40X here in the shed. I want to put on the flat bucket on the back because I'm going to be using the back actor, and I'm going to put on the bucket on the front. Grabs on the front at the moment. Pipes are disconnected. One thing that's really handy with a 48 versus a digger is that you can see there's a gradient in the track, so I can adjust my jacks in order to have my bucket level with that. Works great. Unless you have you can't do that with a digger unless you have a bucket that you can do it. Now the disadvantage of the 40X versus the digger is every time I get everywhere I reach, I gotta lift up my jacks, lift up my bucket, drive forward and set up again. Doesn't take long, but it's a lot slower than if you had a digger where you just move your tracks. You're always set up to work. The water is caught in the track here, and when I clear it away it's running right down to soil there and it'll drain away. So we're after getting a nice bit done. We got the track all along there coming out from the back of the parlour done, and it's like to come along this track. This poor track used to only lead to one field out there back in the day when the old farm track before we built the parlour used to come out this way, and they either went off up that way to the fields up there, or else they went across to the one little paddock there. And now often we use it more, machinery uses it more than cows. Cows only come back if they need to get out the front there, but machinery often trying to drive around the yard will head off out this way. So it takes a lot of hammering and it's a bit narrow. So, but I said we removed a lot of stuff off the side of that now. So there's a bit of a hole here with muck. I need to fill this up with gravel because obviously the road used to come this way. There was a sharp bend here, so there was a pole here, and this was a sharp bend, and so I took that out a while ago, and we fenced it, but I never got to put in the gravel. So need to build that up, and that allows the cows and the tractors and everything can flow around that corner better. This one isn't full of crap, but I dug the soil out of it because similarly this was coming, there was a post here and this part was fenced off, because usually if tractors were coming out this way they went off, they were going out that way. But sometimes we like to come around and head back to the yard if we're trying to avoid cows or whatever, and the cows walk this way. So we took this pole out, the other poles were already there, so we were able to just fence it across. So I dug it out there now so I can fit in some more gravel again, just trying to smooth off these bends a little bit. Cows, machinery don't like sharp bends. If you have a sharp bend on the track, cows will stop at the bend. They'll be looking around where to go, and then they start walking, and it just messes up cow flow. If you have nice curved bends, cows will just easily move along. So sharp bends or right angle bends, not great for cow flow. And then if you have machinery, if you have sharp bends, obviously you're turning tighter, and tighter turning machinery just wears harder on the track, particularly if you have double axle trailers or something and they're not steering axle. When they're turning tightly, they're really tearing up the ground quite a lot, because that rear axle will spin and dig into the ground. We want nice sweeping bends. Right, it's a couple of days on there now, and I'm going to carry on with cleaning the tracks. And today I'm going to go out with the road sweeper on the 100 and try and gather up some muck that's kind of sitting in parts of the track where maybe the track is a little bit flat or more shaded or something, and the water muck doesn't get off as easy. So it's probably been 4 or 5 days since I was recording last, and the weather has been quite nice. It has got a lot clearer and drier. The mornings have got quite cold. Right now it's pretty cold, but then during the day it gets quite lovely and sunny. So the cold weather is probably not great for growth that we expect. It probably will pinch growth even though it's lovely during the day. We're glad to see a bit of this dry weather come in after 87 mil of rain so far this month, which will be a lot for where we are. Anything over 80 mil in a month for us is a lot. We are kind of in a low rainfall area, which can be good and bad. You know, it can be good in the shoulders of the year, it's kind of bad during the summer. But we do have a kind of a wetter, heavier soil type. But when we start getting over 80 mil, things can start to get can often start to get quite mucky and messy. Although ground conditions are pretty much perfect now, given it was very dry before that. So it has taken a lot of that rain, no bother. So I was waiting for the tracks to kind of dry out a bit to start doing this job, because if the muck is very soupy, you can't fill the bucket as much on the sweeper. It starts to run out around the edges, and that would kind of make the job take longer, because there'd be a lot of driving forward and back of where you're getting rid of the stuff. So it has been drying out. I'm not sure if I've left it a little bit too long. I didn't really get any. I would like to get in 2 or 3 days earlier, but I just didn't get a chance to do some of this. I'm wondering, is it getting a bit too dry that I'm actually not going to be able to pick up as much now, because a lot of it's drying back into the track. But anyway, we'll see what we can do tomorrow, and if we can't, we'll just have to kind of wait till it gets a little bit wetter again. So it seems to be working fairly well. The stuff is quite dry, but it is gathering up a good bit of it. However, there's a lot of muck in places, so it doesn't take long to fill the little bucket. You can see it's starting to throw some out the back there now. So what I'm actually just doing now is just gathering up, making a pile of it in the corner. It's over here. Just gonna pile it up and gather it all up with JCB into the trailer. I had thought about actually putting on the adapter to try and put this sweeper on the front of the loader, and I could tip it straight in the trailer, but that would probably take me, I'd have to go take the linkage off the buck rake and put it on this. And I said I'd try it on the tractor first, see how we get on. But this is working pretty well. I'm happy enough with how it's working. We seem to be removing a good bit of stuff. I can land the trailer over near it, and when I'm passing JCB then throw it into it, or else if there's two of us we can just come by and quickly gather it up. But it's out of the way there. I can always throw a wire up to keep the cows away from it so they don't go spreading it out again. But yeah, if that takes off a lot of the heavy stuff, it'll be a big benefit. Okay, we're after getting a nice bit done. We got all the way up along that side. There was a good bit of muck, and up around the bend there was a bit as well. And all this area here, there's quite a lot of muck. You can see a bit of moisture here. There's a bit of a hollow here on the turn where it's holding moisture, but there's a lot of muck in this area. We're kind of going past an old bit of a yard here on the section of the farm, and it's just quite flat in this part. So, but it's after working really well. We actually gathered up a lot of muck, and that part of the track is much better. A few other parts I want to do, whether I'll get some today or not, I'm not sure. And this is the pile of muck we're after building up here, so quite a good bit we're after getting off the track. I was actually surprised at how much I was able to pile it up, because you can't lift up the bucket very high on the link arms, but I managed to pile it up a little bit with it. So we'll gather up with the loader, but that's us cleaning up the tracks and trying getting in better order for the back end, and for then, if they're in better order for the back end, they'll be in better order for spring. There might be even a few parts of the track we could probably do with a bit of resurfacing, alright. So we might look into doing that this year as well. That's going to be all for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. Leave comments if you have any questions there below. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.